again, friends. Larry Roach, St. Andrew Community United Methodist Church. In the past few weeks, we've had a bunch of devotionals by some very articulate people, and they all had, or a lot of them had visual aids, like Pastor D.A. had an 8,000-pound piece of furniture when he gave a devotional, and then Pastor Stephanie has had a shovel, a roll of toilet paper, and she gave one presentation in her bathroom. Now, I can't do that because the lens on my camera fogs up. But apparently she's pretty good and got by with it. So today I'd like to talk about something that's pretty dear to my heart, but I want us all to think back to during the week or the month or the year, how many times you thought, where did the day go? Where did the hours in the day go? Where did the days of the week go? Those precious grandkids of mine, they just grow up too fast. Where did the time go? Where did the money in my 401k go? Where did the money in my checking account at the end of the month, where did it go? But one of the things I'd like to talk about is, where does our love go? Now, my visual aids consist of a piece of cardboard, 2 or 3 magic markers, and these little rubberized plastic chips, if you will. And what I want to know is, where does our love go? And I put down some opportunities. And I've done this for a while, and I've heard from a bunch of people about where their love goes, where their chips are. And I came up with a plan that you have, I don't care how much love you have to share, but you can break it down into 10 chips. And that's the only amount of time, talent, effort, and mental acuity you have to give to people, and amount of capacity you have to love. And it changes. And it changes throughout your life. It can change throughout the year. It can change daily. Now, the reason I originally thought about this is I saw a lot of people that are just unhappy. And it became clear to me that some of the source of that unhappiness was the inability to manage where their love was invested. And if it gets out of balance, then that causes some stress that most of us really don't need. So let me run through some examples. I've got a bunch of examples, but for time's sake, we'll just go through 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, something like that. But you know, when you're a baby, when you're first growing up, all 10 of these chips are invested in me. Me, me, me. Feed me, clean me, burp me, pat me on the back, coo to me. It's all about me. You get a little bit older, maybe into, I don't know, it changes with everybody, but maybe 10, 12 years old, something like that, maybe earlier, say 6 to 12, you start noticing that you care about your parents. You might care a little bit about your brother and sister. You might care about your grandparents. And maybe you got a chip or 2 for a friend. Now, that's pretty much how it's going to run for a while. And then you're going to find at some time that significant other. Don't notice that I couldn't spell significant. I had to change it from an E to an A because that's not polite for noticing that stuff. But when you find the significant other, the only way that's going to go anywhere is if you invest some chips, some love into that individual. And that pretty much means you're going to probably be a little less selfish. You're not going to have near as much time for the grandparents, and they're going to notice it. And your parents are going to notice that you're not spending near as much time at home. And your brother and sister or friends, maybe a little bit. But a significant amount of your chips are going to be invested in the significant other. Now then, you get married. And time goes on and you have children. And oh, that's a wonderful time. That's when you say that rub the wife's belly and you pat her and you make sure she's comfortable and you say her face is glowing. I think it's gas, but it is what it is. But it's a special time between the family, all these people, particularly the husband or the wife and the significant other. And then the child is born. And all those chips that had been invested in that wife or significant other kind of moves over to the children. And there's nobody patting her on the stomach anymore or fluffing up her pillow to make sure she's comfortable. All of the emphasis and all the love kind of moves over to the children. Some clinical psychologists have a term for it. It's postpartum depression, when that significant other loses all those chips. I think you get a concept I call reflected love. If I love the children and my wife loves the children, I get partial credit. Now I put another category down there as work. Now as your work matures, you might invest much more time, talent, and effort in the job. And that means by that time the grandparents may or may not even be in the equation. You might take some of the chips from the kids. Your parents probably see a lot less of you. And some people like me could have invested too much into work at the cost to some of these other places where I should have put invested the love, time, talent, and efforts. Now the reason you always keep one chip here is because you brush your teeth, you take care of yourself, you try to keep clean and dress, and so there's nothing wrong with having some interest in yourself, provided you're not so self-absorbed that you have all these chips or a lot of these chips piled up here for me, and don't invest them in the rest of these areas. Now I put down other, and that is about as varied as you can imagine. It could be fishing, it could be golf, it could be athletics, it could be weightlifting, it could be music. There are people that to the detriment of all these other areas, put a bunch of chips in the other category. And to the extent you do that, you may or may not be out of balance. So I've seen that occur on several occasions, and once it was pointed out, there was kind of an aha moment, and the people said, yeah, maybe I need to be pushing some of those chips back up here where it's important, like my children and my significant other. When you do this, when you decide where your chips are going to go, or where they actually are, you can't put them where you think society wants them to be, or where the norms think they want you to be. It's got to be put, honestly, where you're actually investing the chips. Now, I've probably done this at least 100 times. And I've even done it in a church setting. And what always struck me is that given all of these categories, nobody ever mentioned God. In the Bible, depending on the Bible version you read, there's 500 to 800 references to love in the Bible. Mark 12:30 says, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Now, if that's true, and if we live up to that, should not God be very prominent on this list? And in our hearts, our souls, our mind, and our strength? I think it should be. And I think there are some places, for me personally, maybe some of these less important chips could be invested in service to the Lord and serving as a practicing Christian. Now, disclaimer, I'm a civil engineer. I'm not a psychologist or don't have a degree in psychiatric work. So this is just my opinion and a visual aid to help people try to quantify where their time, talent, effort, and love is actually invested. I hope it helps you to find out, to assess exactly where the love is being invested and make a conscious decision to see if maybe a little bit of the chips can be moved from one location to another, one category to another, for the benefit of your happiness, the happiness of your family, your spouse, your friends, and in the recognition of God the Father. I think we're getting close to this, our ability to get back into the church together. And I, for one, can't wait to see all you people. Thank you very much.